Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of Rampage from 2018. The film is directed by Brad Payton and it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Naomie Harris, Malin Akerman, Jake Lacy, Joe Manganiello and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The film is based very loosely upon a series of video games from the 1980s of the same name. In the game, you could play either as an ape, a crocodile, or a wolf that was kind of supersized, the size of a kaiju, and the idea of the game was to smash up the city before the tanks and the jets and so on killed you. So somehow they turned that into a film. This is proper blockbuster popcorn summertastic film. It's the kind of thing where you don't really want to drill too hard into the science. You're supposed to just sit back, watch, and let it wash over you and enjoy the action. And that's pretty much what has happened with this film, because the budget was somewhere around $120 to $140 million, and worldwide it made $428. So it certainly made its money and people enjoyed it. So what is the film about? In the film, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays Davis Okoye, who's a primatologist, and he works with a series of apes, one of them including an albino called George. Meanwhile, Malin Akerman and her brother in the film, played by Jake Lacy, are these two scientists who are working for this company that they run, conducting illegal experiments on the space station. They need to get their scientific research off because something on there is killing everybody. They manage to get the last astronaut to put it into an escape pod. She blasts off. Unfortunately, the pod is damaged, it explodes, and the three pieces of technology, the sort of science that she's been working on, end up as meteors and crash into different parts of the world. Therefore, you get a crocodile down in the Everglades being affected. You also had a wolf being somewhere in Wyoming being affected. And of course, the third one lands in amongst the primates, and George, the albino, becomes infected as well. The result is that they grow to ridiculous sizes, but they also mutate. So the wolf develops wings, kind of, so it can fly like a massive kind of flying squirrel type thing. The crocodile becomes enormous and very primitive with huge horns and a massive club tail. George basically just becomes really, really big and very, very aggressive. As the three monsters start growing, the scientists want to bring them back to the headquarters so that they can get the technology, get a sample, kill the animals because they've got a sort of cure, and try and sweep it under the carpet. However, how are you supposed to do that with a 200 or 300 foot giant wolf and crocodile? And so, as I said, don't look too hard at the science, just sit back and enjoy it. There's supposed to be some kind of sexual tension between Rock's character Davis and Dr. Kate Caldwell, who's played by Naomie Harris, but as is set out early in the film, Davis doesn't really like people because he's seen what they can do to animals. They killed George's parents. He rescued him from Africa when they were busy butchering his parents to take the hands and feet for ashtrays and so on. So he really doesn't like people with good reason. So he's actually got a better relationship with George, which is ironic because in the film it's a CGI character. So he cares about the animals, he doesn't really care about anybody else, and there's no chemistry between them at all. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is hamming it up, playing Harvey Russell, this kind of wide boy cowboy who chews the scenery. He's got a pearl gun tucked in his belt the entire time. He talks with a real heavy accent and he's got a real attitude. I don't know. They were obviously going for something particular in this film. Joe Manganiello plays Burke. He's the leader of this crack group of soldiers who are initially sent out to retrieve and disable a wolf. Of course, they're all butchered and chewed up in a couple of minutes. So he doesn't last more than about 10 or 15 minutes into the film, which is a shame because I really like him and I'd like to see him in a lead role and getting to stretch his acting chops, which he doesn't really get to do in this. After that, things progress as you might expect. The three huge monsters converge on Chicago to try and get to the source of the signal that's driving them a bit mad. They run over everybody, they kill lots of soldiers, lots of tanks. Meanwhile, they're trying to evacuate the city. They're going to launch a massive bomb. The Rock and Naomie Harris are trying to stop them. They're trying to find a cure because she's a scientist who was involved in creating them originally, or at least the science behind what's triggered this transformation of the monsters. There's a lot of big set pieces, there's some cool things on a plane, there's lots of smashing and grabs, the monsters take people apart and just kind of chew them up. There's not a lot of blood and gore because they can't, because they're trying to make this a great summer blockbuster film. And to be honest, it is a fair bit of fun. If you just sit back and let it wash over you, then it's entertaining, the pace is fairly relentless, the special effects are pretty good. The Rock has learned a bit of sign language so he can talk to George, and we get to see into the mind of George a bit, which is good, and he has a bit of a sense of humour. Naomie Harris doesn't really have a lot to do, she kind of coasts along. Malin Akerman is fairly convincing as a villain, but of course it's pretty thin because the script is quite thin, so she does her best with what she's got. As a kind of Saturday evening movie with a beer and a pizza, you can put this on and it's a good bit of entertainment, but don't expect to come away with anything particularly insightful from the film. It's just popcorn fun. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it a generous 3 bags of action out of 5 and say it's alright, but it's not something I'll revisit, and I don't think they're going to do a sequel, or if they do, it's just going to be more of the same kind of stuff. So, have you seen Rampage? Get in touch with us and let us know. You can leave a comment below, you can email us, you can come onto the Facebook group, or we're on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We also are on Ko-fi, so if you like what we do and you want to support us, you can do so through there. We have new episodes coming out every week with my co-host, and thanks for listening.